What's up, horse racing fans? Welcome to another episode of the Inside Post. We have another set of Kentucky Derby top 10 listings for you as we approach the finale of our Kentucky Derby preps leading up to the first Saturday in May. We just wrapped up with the Florida Derby and the Arkansas Derby, so now we are setting this top 10 before the Santa Anita and before the Wood, and of course, a week or few later, the Bluegrass Stakes. So we're going to see if we have a shakeup in our top 10, a couple horses that have entered, a couple horses that have been knocked out of our top 10, and we'll see if any Wood Memorial runners or Santa Anita Derby runners have been taken out or put into our top 10. So as before, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below your pick for the Kentucky Derby as we inch ever so close with just a month away before we run for the roses down at Churchill Downs. Number 10, kicking it off with a Wood Memorial entrant in here for Hill Road. Currently 31st on the Derby leaderboard. I believe Hill Road has about 24, 25 points as it stands for Chad Brown and those connections going into the Wood Memorial. So 100 points on the line for Hill Road. Looks to be one of the top favorites possibly going into the Wood. I think the last I checked it, possibly going to get 7-2, maybe 5-1 as the morning line comes out for the Wood Memorial. As you can see, the horse has kind of been off a layoff a little bit from that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, finishing third in there behind Citizens Bull. Goes back into the Tampa Bay Derby, finishing third in there again off the layoff. So this will be the second start off of a pretty good layoff for Hill Road that we see the connections, Chad Brown and the likes, running this one back off that decent sized layoff. So we'll see if this one can run back big in here. Currently a $215,000 earner so far for these connections. As you can see, the horse has been on the turf before, so stepping into the dirt has really done really well, obviously running consistently with these couple of third places. So I expect Hill Road to be one of the horses that finish 1, 2, and 3 in the Wood Memorial. So make sure to go check out those videos if we have our Wood Memorial video posted of our analysis for the Wood. Number 9, Chunk of Gold, a recent addition to the Inside Post top 10. Currently sitting 7th on the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. Another one, sorry, the picture hasn't came in. This is a really good one for Ethan West in here. Love that Ethan West has a horse for the Derby. Comes out of the Leonidas Stakes at Turfway Park. So we have yet again another Turfway Shippa, if you would. Second in that Risen, second in the Louisiana Derby. A big case of second-itis for Chunk of Gold. And if this horse can finish anywhere in the top 3 for the Kentucky Derby, you should have a nice chunk of gold, because I feel like this horse is going to be a deep, deep long shot for the Kentucky Derby. Number 8. Yes. Final Gambit. Another Turfway Shippa that we have. If you know the channel and you followed us, we always talk about the Turfway Shippers coming and invading these tracks and usually running big at big prices occasionally. We've seen it done before in the Kentucky Derby as kind of an anomaly that doesn't happen quite often. This one's sitting 5th currently at 100 points for Brad Cox. This one by not this time, close to $500,000 in earnings. The big Jeff Ruby Stakes win coming from way off the pace in there just after breaking its maiden at Turfway Park. So we'll see if that adjustment kind of helps Final Gambit. We probably see this horse later on down the road running in some turf stakes races, but hey, it can make the gate. We'll see what happens for Final Gambit going into that Kentucky Derby lead up workouts and all the rightful so's for the Kentucky Derby. Number 7, Barnes. Horse just keeps kind of falling down our list. I know. We haven't seen the horse in a while. Currently 35th on the Derby leaderboard. I believe it's like 18 points, maybe a little bit of change in there for Bob Baffert. One of many horses, colts in here, buy Into Mischief. So we know the Into Mischiefs, yes, they run really well. I mean, you could see from the photo just the muscle up of, the front end and even the back end of Barnes. But like I said, we haven't seen the horse really since the San Vicente, and then breaking its maiden at Churchill, going 5 furlongs. But it's going to have to step into this Santa Anita Derby this weekend and beat some really good West Coast horses. Obviously, the stablemate in Citizens Bull that it's going to have to figure out how to beat. And then it's got another really good horse in Journalism that's kind of sitting there with Citizens Bull or Sovereignty as, the future wagering or the early favorites for the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see what we get out of Barnes. There's only 5 horses in the Santa Anita Derby, so rightfully could pick up, I think it's like 75, maybe 25 and 15. Like the Santa Anita Derby has been kind of cut because there's only 5 horses, so the points are not a full points race. But if the horse kind of finishes second, or even surprises and beats out the stablemate, Citizens Bull, obviously Barnes will be checked for the Kentucky Derby. But definitely going to have to make up some ground between, if you're looking at the cutoff of 35 points is where that cutoff would be. Going to need about a 3rd place finish. Probably could set suit for Barnes to make the Derby gate. Number 6, Coal Battle. Yes, another one that's kind of fell a few pegs on our top 10 list, but however, this horse should easily make the gate, marking any setbacks, currently with 95 points to the good for the Derby field. 3rd in that Arkansas Derby, was just beat out by, a better horse that day, rightfully so. But this horse definitely can run, definitely is going to be a grinder in the Kentucky Derby, and probably going to be the horse that's going to take some money in that Derby, just because the connections. It's a great story with Lonnie Briley and what he's able to do. Love the pedigree with the Coal Front sire in here. Like I said, the horse is an absolute grinder. And you can kind of see it when the horse runs, that it just runs so hard. It wants to be, it has that mindset that, it wants to win races or at least be on the podium of 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. One of the few horses that have earned over $1 million so far, rightfully so, has came out of almost every prep race. The Smarty Jones, the Rebels with a victory, and then obviously that big Arkansas Derby, finishing 3rd in there. Number 5, Citizens Bull. We haven't seen the horse since the Robert Lewis. I know. So it's kind of dropped. This horse was number 1 on our poll, probably back in January, early February, when we were getting these smaller stakes races. We haven't seen Citizens Bull since, but the horse is set to run for the Santa Anita Derby. We see a good running in there. Who's to say this horse cannot be catapulted back up to the number 1 spot in the Inside Post top 10? Rightfully so. Another one that's really not done a whole lot wrong. Like I said, the Robert Lewis, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and the American Pharoah, all big wins for this. Another one into Mischief that Bob Baffert has for his barn. Going to have to beat out his barnmate in Barnes and the other really good West Coast horse in Journalism, and then come into the Kentucky Derby and face another slew of really good horses that are going to be ready to run hard that day. So, best of luck to Citizens Bull. Get a win. Climb the Inside Post top 10 poll. Number 4, Tappan Street. Another one. The picture. Gone on the Tappan Street. Yes. You guessed it. Buy into Mischief here for Tappan Street. Pretty good one for Brad Cox. Probably the one that's highest right now on the leaderboard. I think 110 points is what Tappan Street has. Locking himself into the Kentucky Derby with that Florida Derby victory. Rightfully so. His other one, obviously Final Gambit, but this one looks really good and was able to do it again, kind of coming a little bit from off the pace. In the Florida Derby, had a pretty good pace to run into for sure, and kind of almost needed that race. I mean, 2nd in the Holy Bull, 1st in the Florida Derby, so one that's definitely progressed, gotten a little bit better each race. Definitely one to keep an eye on the workout side of things. Could be a very, very sneaky horse at a really good price going into the Kentucky Derby. Number 3, Sovereignty. Yeah, I know. We put this horse ahead of the horse that just beat him. Hey, he loses his jockey, Junior Alvarado. Has to switch up to a really good Manny Franco, who was really hot on the day. And another one that kind of came off the pace. However, Tappan Street definitely the pace setup helped Tappan Street that day. He was the one that kind of got the motor going before Sovereignty. So I think we shouldn't see any issues with Sovereignty going back into the Derby. Probably going to be the third, fourth betting option. Right now, I even think on the futures that he's like third. So again, another really good horse. We're going to see a little bit of regression in the Florida Derby, and for him to pick up a second place finish, hey, that's pretty good. From the street sense, going into the Fountain of Youth off of a layoff and winning the Fountain of Youth, and then backs it up with a second place finish in the Florida Derby. Another one, definitely keep a watch for. I believe we should get Alvarado back aboard this horse for the Derby, miring any setbacks for his injury. So definitely one that's kind of sticking around in the top 5 for the inside posts. Number 2, Sandman. Cue the music. Enter Sandman. Metallica. Looked phenomenal in the Arkansas Derby. Obviously another one that had the pace to run absolutely huge in there, and finally was able to get his win. Currently the number 1 on the leaderboard for the points side of thing. Mark Cass has a really good one here by Tappet. Love the gray horses that we have so far in the Kentucky Derby. I feel like we're going to get maybe 1 or 2 more possibilities. Has earned over $1 million, and rightfully so. I mean, you could see the board hitter, the street sense, the Southwest, the Rebel, and then able to pull it off in that Arkansas Derby with a really good speed figure to back it up. I think if we have any type of really good pace for Sandman to run in the Kentucky Derby, he is definitely a really good play. The horse has just gotten better since he kind of came out of the gate sideways. They're still kind of figuring things out. He was kind of a little bit all over the track still, and you could tell he's a typical 3-year-old, and it's just could be a little bit more challenging in the Derby, running 19, 18 other horses down or trying to maneuver those 18 or 19 other horses. But I think he's going to be right there at the top or in the top 5 for betting options. And yes, number 1 is still Journalism. I know I knocked some of the other horses down because they haven't ran as much, but this has been the talk of the horse out on the West Coast, over Citizens Bull right now and over Barnes. So we will see. They're going to put it all to the test Saturday for the Santa Anita Derby. Journalism versus Barnes versus Citizens Bull, plus 2 others. So we'll see who's going to be the top dog coming from the West, or the top 2 coming from the West. I think Journalism is sitting pretty right now. The horse looked phenomenal in that Los Al Futurity. Obviously, giving them quite the time off coming into the Santa Anita Derby. I wouldn't say he would have to run his best race. He could run comfortably, get second in there, and still probably have enough points. I think he's sitting at like 48. So he's definitely going to be into the field of the Kentucky Derby with a top 3 finish in here. And I think, like I said, future wagering was like 3-1, 4-1 currently on Journalism, the son of Curlin Ford, Mike McCarthy. So there's our top 10 yet again. We thank you for watching. Thanks for talking and commenting down below and having the discussions about horses with us. We look forward to doing this. Basically for the next month, we get to talk Kentucky Derby. So it's a great time for horse racing right now, and a lot of content that the channel is going to be putting out. So make sure to go hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment down below your number 1 for the Kentucky Derby. Thanks, everybody.